Hi everyone, my name is Michèle Tougas.
Hi, Michelle.
I'm an artist and a writer. I belong to a writer's group. I write short stories and poetry. I've never written the great Canadian novel, not yet anyway.
Thanks for being here.
This first piece is kind of interactive. It's called A Young Woman's Lament, and it's in the first person. And you can all see I'm not a young woman. So your job as the audience is to pretend I am. I was once. So forget the gray hair, forget the wrinkles, and I'm a young woman again. A Young Woman's Lament. On a pretty regular basis, something rises within me. Something wrong. It gains purchase by climbing my ribs. It slides past my lungs, bumps against my heart. As this intruder bursts through my trachea, everything turns red. It forces itself out from my mouth, and I hear, "Screw you!" burst from it. Then, "Screw you!" followed by, "Screw you!" The emphasis placed on first one, then the other syllable, trying each out to see which is more effective. It is not my voice. There's a tingling in my scalp, and then a buzzing sound. Adrenaline is coursing through me like a luge racer. My heart hurts. It's pounding so hard. I feel somehow blinded. I can't focus properly. Yet, ironically, my vision is simple-minded and clear, concentrated on this one wrong someone's done to me, this one inexcusable insult, this devastating betrayal, or so the stranger within me sees it. My air is swollen up in the top of my lungs. My hands are quaking. The tremors, the breath high up in my rib cage, the rage, all threaten to erupt, to rend me in two, or maybe to rend him in two. I am a volcano. Hot lava spews from my mouth, threatening to wipe out whole villages, or at least to bury one family. I try to reach out to my husband, my fingers wanting to touch his like the fingers in a Michelangelo fresco. But the monster that has taken me over uses those fingers to push him away. I want to cry, but my fury won't allow it. Such fragility is feminine and weak, and the stranger wants no part of it. The stranger hates the impotence of women. I want the warmth of my husband's embrace, but like a dragon, my fire burns him. Why can't he read my mind, I wonder, or slay the dragon? Though this body snatcher visits regularly, I don't recognize it when it comes. I'm never ready for it. It steals from me without warning, draining me of my goodness, my logic, my compassion, my sanity. I am replaced by some vile, deeply disturbing creature, someone I would hate to have around. It is this alien for whom doctors prescribe medications, the little yellow pills of old, replaced by designer antidepressants and anti-anxietics. It's all the same, devised to send the creature back to its lair, where it lies in wait for its next opportunity, whiling away the time, sharpening its claws, infusing its barbs with a fresh supply of venom. By all means, medicate the irrational female. Self-medication works for some, but my children seem to prefer a mom who, though possessed, can still put together a meal for them, over one who is passed out on the couch when they arrive home from school. Without something, though, the world is too bright, the edges too sharp, the hurt too deep. The physical discomfort leaves me wanting to claw my way out of myself and leave the carapace behind. Let the stranger suffer the bloating and swollen gums, the eyes filled with gritty sand, the painful, sensitive breasts. Let this alien experience the nausea and the headaches. It demands to be fed, usually surviving on chips and chocolate cake. Yet after I'm forced to gorge, I'm the one who suffers the guilt and the weight gain. I want to run screaming from my own body that has turned against me and invited this evil in. My wheels are spinning, and there's nowhere for me to go to get away from myself. I'm running faster than I can catch up with me. Everything is out of sync, like a badly dubbed movie. A have accidents, cutting myself in the kitchen, or tripping and falling on the street. I get mixed up at work and make embarrassing mistakes. The heat rising to my face, betraying my ineptitude. Then one day, I awake, stretch, and feel better. I walk downstairs, and the mirror I pass on the way gives me back my own reflection. A seismic shift has occurred, and all is back to normal. I feel I might survive this life after all. My happiness is tempered by the chill I feel from my family, the uncertainty in their eyes. I'll make their favorite dinner tonight. I must get busy making amends to a coworker I've attacked, the employer I've insulted. But I feel the monster slipping away, slinking back to its hiding place, slithering down, down, tail flicking, until next month. This one doesn't really have an introduction, it's just called Evening Promise. Evening Promise. In my mind's eye, my mother's evening primrose rise in yellow splendor above the white impatience in my garden, all that grows of her still. All these years of regretting that I had not planted some of her cuttings, lovingly, proudly passed on. I had let them shrivel right there on the patio where she had laid them, ignoring her careful instructions, even resentful that she was imposing yet one more chore upon me. Couldn't she see I was already overwhelmed with the stresses of 4 young children and a full-time job? My mother died alone during the ice storm of '98, a natural disaster that wreaked havoc on many levels. Compared with the cataclysmic events and insurmountable misery experienced on a regular basis in third world countries, it was a blip on radar. On a personal level, though, it will always be linked for me with tremendous loss, guilt, and sadness. Then, a chance at redemption. At a recent barbecue hosted by my brother, I discovered that all this time my sister-in-law had been growing clumps of Mom's primroses. In fact, they propagated so wildly and so profusely, she said, that she had to thin them out from time to time. My heart sang. Could I have her take root, come back to me in this small way, fertile memory, seeds of time? And so, a week later, there they were as promised, in a plastic bag in the sink where, having earlier dropped them off, Blair had instructed my daughter to place them. I took note of the fragile stems, the stiff prong-like roots barren of earth, drying adjuncts to the beauty of buttery yellow blossoms. I was well pleased that she remembered, and annoyed that she had left Gloria with an admonition for me. Tell your mom to get these in the ground soon, she warned, knowing I was the type to forget, the frivolous sort, who was easily distracted from the task at hand. It was practical, capable, responsible advice, and Blair to a T. There was nothing like her. Too tired after a long day to plant them, I convinced myself it was far too dark for gardening. I emptied the bag of the pool of brackish water that had washed the soil from the roots, covered these in a sodden paper toweling, and placed the bag in the back porch until I could get to it. The gritty feeling of a sleepless night washed away with my first cup of java. 8:45 a.m., and I just dropped my youngest off at the local hardware store, where she held a part-time, underpaid position. Humidity steamed the morning, promise of another scorcher of a day. We were in the midst of a record heat wave, temps in the low 30s for 7 consecutive days now. It was impossible to sleep at night in that heat. I planned to come home and immediately throw myself into a deep slumber on the living room couch, but the garden whispered, so I made my customary rounds. My green thumb throbbed with pride at the sight of my cerise azalea and purple bergamot sporting their first blooms. I marveled at the prodigious angel trumpets, but noted they were begging for water, their leaves like so many drooping tongues. I dragged out the hose and gave the whole garden a light spray, delighting at the diamonds arching in the sun. Satisfied that all was well, and yearning for a nap, I climbed the back stairs, where I was met with a riot of yellow, leaping from the corner of the porch. The primrose blooms, closed demurely last night, had opened in the early hours and filled my porch with dozens of lemony sundrops. They were a joyful reminder that today was a day of celebration, Canada Day, I mused patriotically. They immediately laughed at myself. Some patriot. I hadn't even remembered our nation's birthday until I spotted Gloria's t-shirt. Navy blue with the word A emblazoned in 4-inch white letters beside a small white maple leaf. Very clever. Even the beauty of the primrose failed to wake me to the day, and I took my weary body and bleary eyes to the couch, dropping off to a sweat-soaked, oven-roasted sleep. I awoke when I heard my son zip and unzip his backpack once too often, in order to insert forgotten necessities for a day at the beach. Since when had their product become a necessity, I wondered. I fried up a couple of eggs for him while he waited for a lift, and then sent him off with exhortations about deep-sea dangers. Then I took myself out to the back porch with my second cup of coffee. My mother's primrose cuttings were drooping alarmingly in the bag, so I refreshed them with water and tucked them away under the fallow umbrella on the Big Daddy hosted. I planned them that evening when things got cooler. I found them a week later, leaves shriveled, buds just brown specks against woody stems. Though I planted them immediately, tenderly, they remained lifeless. Perhaps they'd come up the next summer, I thought, and left them. But as the hot summer progressed, and any semblance of greenery disappeared, they became white and brittle like bones. Still, I refused to pull them. They stand there still, testament to the carelessness of daughters such as I.